And I think if you're a financial advisor that's out there listening to this and you're trying to figure out where to start, how to grow, like I literally would start Good Till Cancelled, episode 1, work your way through it, take notes. This is as close as an answer key as you're ever going to get, and it's free. And I promise you it's better than any paid consultancy that's out there.
You don't know when it's coming. It's hard to force someone into a conversation about, let's get your finances in order. When they come to you when they're ready, it's a much different situation.
I'm not thinking about doing 52 weekly newsletters. I'm thinking about doing the next one. I'm not thinking about doing 365 daily posts on LinkedIn. I'm just focused on the next one.
Here's the fun part of this conversation, and this is for the advisors listening to this, watching this on YouTube, however you're consuming it. Welcome back to Good Till Cancelled, episode 20. I feel like we have some momentum behind us, some good episodes. I just listened to episode 19, which was launched yesterday in podcast, and I believe will be launched today via YouTube.
I love it. I feel like we're getting better. We're just starting to hit our stride.
A couple housekeeping items I want to go over. Are we still on water only?
Yes. Well, yes and no. All hopped up on C4. I love that stuff. I can't get enough of it. I have one a day. 6:10 a.m. Eastern. I hit a C4 before my workout, and I find this stuff to be amazing.
Okay, so that's not hopped up on. That's a serving.
It's just one.
Okay, so by now that's flowed through you.
Yeah, frozen bombsicle, starburst strawberry. Had a successful weigh-in this morning, continuing to trend in the right direction.
Excellent. So outside of the C4 treat at 6:40 in the morning, water only.
You got it. Water only, no Frescas, no Diet Dew, no sweet tea.
You haven't ventured into the flavored soda water world, the Polar and the LaCroix and the Buble?
Not everybody else in my family does. I mean, we buy it in bulk. We have enough to get through probably, a nuclear winter of the sparkling waters in our house. But no, I'm just straight tap.
Wow, you're just hardcore.
Sometimes you have that vision. And, this is day 83 for me, water only, or, over the last couple of weeks having the C4. Haven't had any, sweet tea, Diet Mountain Dew or Fresca for 83 days. I consider that to be a pretty good win. And at this point, I love water. I don't want anything else.
Good for you. Yeah. Look, I applaud you, and I'm excited for you there. I just had to update the audience on the fluid intake.
For those who will be watching this on YouTube, I have my gallon of water that I keep with me at all times. I do feel that my 8-year-old daughter is slightly embarrassed by it when we go places and I show up to Taekwondo with her and I'm carrying around my big blue gallon jug of water.
We don't downsize for travel.
Never.
So where does that sit on the floor on the car mat?
Yeah, literally. I take it with me everywhere, to the gym, to her Taekwondo. If I leave the house, it comes. I mean, how else are you going to track it, right? If the goal is to drink a gallon of water a day, it gets really, really hard to, 8 ounces here, 8 ounces there. I think that was 12 ounces. No, I'm just going to I'm carrying this big blue gallon jug. It starts off weighing like 9.1 pounds. So it's a little bit of additional strength training. And then as the day goes on, it gets lighter and lighter until we finish up generally sometime around game time as we close our evening down with Yahtzee and Phase 10 every night.
Is a gallon a lot? Like, just to help me out understand, like, is that a lot of water?
I think it's 128 ounces.
But do you have to work through it, or is it pretty much on autopilot that it just gets finished?
It's just on autopilot. Like, it's not hard. I'm just slow sipping all the time.
Okay.
But, one of the things is if you keep it handy, right, you'll do it. So that's why I just keep it with me all the time, get a little bit thirsty, a little bit parched. And, I'm talking to people like 6 to 8 hours a day. So you get a little dry, and you gotta stay refreshed and charged up.
This is why Know My Plan clients and prospects need to also be listening to the podcast. They can understand a little bit behind the double N method and mentality here.
So I weighed in this morning, Corey. I'll give the audience a little bit of idea of the trajectory of where we've been.
And people couldn't sleep last night waiting for this update.
This is good stuff. So when we started the journey at the gym, the number that I found the most fascinating was that I essentially had 26 more pounds of muscle than fat. So Muscle minus fat plus 26. Here we are today, the number is 50. So the delta, 24 lbs, and my 24 pounds may not seem like a lot. Go grab a 25-pound dumbbell and carry that with you all day.
Who's minimizing 25 pounds? I think that is a lot.
I don't know. If you're a BMI person, I'm officially under the 30 mark, 29.9. Body fat has dropped 6.2% since we started. So that's a little quick update on where we've been and the trajectory that we're at.
Congratulations. And tell the kids dad got a little bit harder to wrestle with, a little stronger.
Exactly. And if C4 is out there listening, we would certainly consider a corporate sponsorship if we could get Rita to sign off on it.
This is the part of the episode where I now have to get us back on track to talk about things that matter and things that people care about and things that can help folks in their journey. So here we are. Episode 20. I'd love to know what's on your mind. If there's some things you want to talk about, I've got my list, which I'm happy to go through, but would like to give you a chance.
You're just going to give me the floor like that with so many things going on. Can I talk about? It
starts with basketball. We're going to take a quick hard turn. So
yeah, I know. And that there could be other directions I could go, but can we talk about getting some feedback for a second and how excited I am for feedback?
Absolutely.
All right. So I think we all get a lot of positive feedback in our world. You're one of the great graphic designers of our day. I get a lot of positive feedback on stuff, but every so often, I'm lucky enough to get feedback from the doubters. And I had to write some of them down because I'm in the process of getting them printed out nicely, and I'm going to frame them in my office. So I had, since we last spoke, 4 comments from doubters. And I love it. Because to me, it's better fuel than you telling me, great job, I really liked your newsletter.
Yep.
So without further ado, 2 are about business, 2 are personal. And I think you'll enjoy all 4 of them.
Let's go. Let's kick off the personal first.
Yeah, then we'll transition. So the first one was about this whole weight loss journey, getting in shape. The first one was, you'll never keep the weight off, which I love the bulletin board material. Second one was, you won't be consistent enough for long enough to have any real results. Clearly said by somebody who doesn't know me, because consistency is my love language. Transitioning to the business ones, which get me super fired up. There's no way you can continue to publish a weekly newsletter. No way. Too much work, they say. And then this was kind of a 2-parter on the 4th one. There's no way you can continue to post on social media daily, and there's no way you will continue to grow at the rate you're growing at. I mean, this is amazing stuff.
Love that. Like, where my mind goes with that is like, I wish someone said this stuff to me.
I know. You feel a little empty now that nobody gave you this, right? Like,
I literally I want to snarl at you and just be like, just sorry, folks listening, like, fuck you.
Isn't negativity such a better fuel source, though? The doubters, like, you don't want to, I'm not saying you want to let these people in your inner circle, right? If it is true that you are the culmination of the 5 people that are the closest to you, these aren't necessarily people that you want in the inner circle. However, if you're lucky enough through the filters that happen in life that you get this sort of manna from heaven, sorry, Rita, that falls into your lap, this is amazing. I've never been pumped up to go to war.
Yeah, I would certainly not have someone who's saying those things to me as like my, I wouldn't want to hear this stuff consistently, but as a competitor on the field, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. We'll see about that.
Yeah. And I love the bulletin board material. Like, you don't get this a lot. So I'm going to print them out real nice as quote cards. I'm going to frame them up, put them in the office, and I'm going to make sure that it's the first thing I see when I walk into the office every day.
Let me ask you this. Unsolicited, where and why and how did this come about?
I think certain people just want to give, and it's, sometimes when I'll use the example of sometimes, as a husband, your wonderful wife tells you that about a problem, and as the husband, you want to give an answer, and maybe she doesn't want an answer, she just wants you to listen. I think sometimes people just feel required to give feedback, and I'm so glad that they did, because I've never been so lucky. I haven't been this lucky in a long time. I feel
On the
like this is
professional
like
side, was
a
this,
lotto ticket.
yeah, like the ones of like, you can't do these emails, you can't keep up with the content, there's no way this works for you. Are you in like a group setting, in like a forum, or someone asking you advice, you tell them what you're doing, and then they hit you back with that?
Yeah, one-on-one conversation with financial advisors.
Okay,
And
well,
that's
you
what they
you
say.
do you. I'm gonna do me, and we'll continue to let the bricks stack how they will.
And the way that I answered it is, I'm not thinking about doing 52 weekly newsletters. I'm thinking about doing the next one, right? I'm not thinking about doing 365 daily posts on LinkedIn. I'm just focused on the next one. I only have to do one. This week in the gym, we had this deal. We have these weird bars. It's not the Olympic bars, 45 pounders. We're doing bench press. And the thing was, you had to do 12 reps in whatever, 40 seconds. I had really no idea how much I could do for 12 reps. And the guy I was working out with, Dan, great guy, he didn't know either. So we just started slapping different plates on there, 45s, 25s, and 10s. So like, well, I know I can do this one time. So I'm just going to focus on doing it once. And then if I can do it again, I'll do it again. And I think sometimes people get so fixated on the big number, 52 newsletters, 365 daily posts, that they lose track of, you can only do one at a time. You can't bench press twice. You can't get 2 reps in the same motion. Like, you can only do 1 rep. And I think sometimes people lose track of, it's so easy to do one. You don't have to get crazy fixated on doing all 50 at once.
This is a great segue into a quote I have here for one of our topics. And the quote I have, I believe, came from you offline, but I think it's in line with what we're talking about here. And the quote is, I'm shocked at how many advisors are living such a busy life. I continue to come back to the theme and the saying and the idea of like playing office versus executing office. Right. And I think that fits with what you're saying. Like, stop thinking about all the things you could be doing or want to do, and let's just tackle the list that's in front of us.
Yeah. And let's just tackle the first thing on the list. Simple. How to eat an elephant one bite at a time. It's really the mindset with how we do financial plans, right? We give people one sheet of paper. Next steps are generally 2 to 3 items, not 18 or 20. When people get overwhelmed, you and I both know they do very little or nothing. When people see the next step as doable, they do it. And once you do one and they come back to you, say, yeah, we did that, then we can move on to the next one. But I think, there's a lot of busy work that happens in the financial advisory world that isn't really advancing the cause.
How prevalent is it? Like, how widespread of a, problem is the busy work, and how do we stop it?
I would say it's, for most people who aren't where they're at, it's probably the biggest problem that they face. And it is a crutch because they don't know what they need to do, or they're afraid to do what they need to do. And I think that for the most part, there's too many people running businesses in isolation that don't have any source of accountability. There's no coach there to crack the whip to say, hey, Nick, you haven't, made 20 outbound calls today. You haven't, written a newsletter yet today. You haven't called 10 clients, whatever it is. Too many solo shops, I think, too many people who don't have a support system around them to hold them accountable to make things happen. And that's a hard place to be. A solo advisor is a very, very hard place to be.
What's the fix for that? Because look, I run a business, a marketing consultation business. A lot of it bleeds into business consultation as well. I do my best, and I'd love your feedback here too. I do my best to try to hold clients accountable who need to be held accountable. But at the end of the day, right, they're paying me. They know they don't have to follow any of the guidance, and they don't have to follow through on any of the checklist items that we need to get through between our meetings and conversations. How does an advisor create a level of accountability for themselves if they know they could break the rule?
I think that's just something broken within them. For me, if I'm going to hire you for coaching to get advice and guidance from you, I'm either all in or I'm all out. And if I'm hiring you, I'm going to take your advice and I'm going to do everything in my power to apply that advice to the best of my ability. If I'm not going to follow the advice, I'm going to try to hire a different guru. So, I mean, I think at some point, advisors have to get real with themselves. Like, are we paying people just to be our friends and have somebody to talk to hang out with, to have a break from the normal day-to-day monotony that comes with being a financial advisor? Or are we really trying to make an impact and drive the business forward and deliver a better experience for our clients? And by doing so, makes our clients feel compelled that they need to introduce us to the people that are closest to them.
And I think there's a way that you don't have to look for both, but I think there's a spot there where you can find someone you enjoy working with, enjoy talking to and achieving with, right? But you still have to respect, I think, to your point, if I'm paying this service, I should probably implement the service.
I respect you too much to not implement the advice, right? Like, I do feel it's kind of disrespectful to pay for the advice, get the advice, and then not do anything with it.
And then talk about it again in 2 weeks.
Exactly. You know, what are we doing here? You can't make people want it. You know, people are in different places in their journey. And that's part of why I create content daily, is because you never know when somebody is going to be ready. And, you know, we're not going to try to send DMs to thousands of people trying to shake them down and meet with a financial planner. You know, we just want to be in the top 2 or 3 people that they think of when they're ready to get serious about creating a goals-based written financial plan.
I've been lucky enough, you know, I've been doing this for coming up on 5 years now. I've been lucky enough to be a part of a lot of conversations with many of you that have been successful. And I've been lucky enough that you guys have shared some of this stuff with me from clients or prospects that come on board. And I think the one thing that advisors failing to get their message out consistently realize is what you just said. It's the teacher appears when the student is ready. And I've been saying that for a little bit now, but I get the emails forwarded to me. I get the DMs and the screenshots sent to me. Hey, FYI. And it's literally, and you can speak to this too, but it's the client saying, hey, been following you for a while now, been reading your newsletters for a while now, been seeing your content that you put out on LinkedIn or YouTube for a while now. This one spoke to me. Carly and I are ready to have a conversation. You know, we're looking to schedule a meeting, right? And that stuff, and it's not just you, I get that from other clients as well, but I don't know how else to bullhorn that to the world of like, you don't know when it's coming. It's hard to force someone into a conversation about let's get your finances in order. It's when they come to you when they're ready, it's a much different situation.
Yeah. And that's why consistency for someone like myself is so important, and continuing to grow your network, because it takes the one person who raises their hand a month or the one person who raises their hand a quarter to it gets to the point where it's, you know, 1 a week or 2 a week, but you don't start off at 1 a week or 2 a week. It takes a lot of time. And most people are not willing to build the foundation, which is time consuming and low ROI, to get to the point where you do have the 1 a week, the 2 a weeks, where it's consistently filling your calendar. It's hard to get punched in the mouth every day and not see any benefit from it. You know, the first month you go to a gym, it's not a lot of fun. It really hurts. Everything's sore. And that's the same thing of trying to share what you do with the world and who you work with and why you do it. Low ROI in the beginning for a really long time. And it's probably lower for longer than it's ever been before, because it's harder to keep and capture people's attention than ever before.
You're creating the greatest commercial for my business possible, but I couldn't co-sign that more, dude, because you just said two things that are just so profound to me. One, it takes, like, you have to go through the process of it not netting any results for you, but you believing in what you're doing will. And your second point is even more impactful, which is it probably takes longer today than it's ever taken. The third point is, what other options do you even have? And that's the one I actually want to know. I want someone to answer that question for me. If you want to say the content marketing thing is going to take too long, I don't have the time to put into it, I missed the boat, it's harder than it's ever been, Instagram's impossible, YouTube is what it is, LinkedIn's a mess, Facebook this, but it's too noisy, too late, then what? Pack it in. Sell the business.
Or you enter into the rat race of the merger acquisition game, trying to find the old advisor that's getting out of the business. And that's why there is 100 buyers for every seller. But there are people who, are kind of the ambulance chasers of the industry that are, trying to follow every 65-year-old financial advisor all across town and taking them out to play golf. And I mean, for a lot of people, that is their growth plan, is trying to find people that they can merge up
Super interesting.
team up with.
Okay, so if the marketing thing is one direction that you're just not bought in on, your options are really, or if the content marketing thing's not what you're bought in on, your options are M&A. You're going to buy a business from an advisor who wants to get out and retire and pack it in, and you're going to buy that book. Option 2 is what?
Get bought. Take a check.
Okay. Take a check and change industries. Do something different.
Yeah, or go sell your independent practice to an aggregator, get a nice check, turn around and get a salary. I mean, there's a lot of people doing that too who have a decent business. Hey, I got 50 million. It's giving me $400,000 gross revenue a year. I'll take 2 million up front and I'll take a salary of 120 a year until I die or get out. Right. So, I mean, those are the options. I don't see any mystery door that exists, but I think of content marketing a lot like dollar cost averaging into a bear market. If for whatever reason we stopped getting people raising their hands that said they wanted to work with you, maybe the bear market of people raising their hands, I would still have faith that it would return. Maybe I would tweak the message. Maybe I would try to figure out why people aren't raising their hands anymore, but I would continue to produce and produce and produce, knowing that I'm planting seeds for when people are ultimately ready. And me personally, I love the organic growth of social content and let people opting in, because if I go out and buy a book from someone, which I probably could, I don't know if, one, I would like working with those clients, and two, I don't know if they'd like working with me, because we're certainly not for everyone. But I love knowing the fact that everybody that's in our book of business has proactively opted in to wanting to work with Know My Plan and has bought into our process. That is a bit of a crapshoot if you go and buy a business.
So what about option 3? And where I'm going with that is all these paid services that are out there that, I'll just be frank, I don't know why I would even pull punches here. The tricks, the tactics, the services that advisors get sucked into and spend millions of dollars on.
You and I are in the same boat on this. I've never met a single advisor who's done it and said, wow, that was incredible. That was a really great experience. That was a great ROI. I brought on new clients that I loved, and I did it in a very positive way that didn't hurt my work-life balance. I've never seen it happen. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I've never met that unicorn. Now, I would say if there's anybody out there who's listening to this who has done those things, by all means, send us a message. We'll have you on the show and talk about your journey. And I'm sure there are people out there who have done it. I don't know them. I've never met them. I've never seen it in the wild. I'm sure Bigfoot exists.
Oh,
have you ever met someone who's done it?
I have yet to meet someone who has said the PPC, the SEO, the lead gen magnet, the ebook gate, the email funnel has transformed my life, has transformed my business. I have now, if I'm selling sweatshirts on Instagram, different story. I believe that really works. I don't think content marketing sells sweatshirts.
We know people who've built good businesses off of like Ramsey's SmartVestor Pro, or people who've created a positive return on smart asset. Like we've seen those things work, but once again, that's a long game type of thing. And for most people, you have to get your business to some sort of sustainable level before you could really do that in a profitable way, because you have to have a pretty good infrastructure in place, and you have to be willing to burn a lot of money on the front end before you really start to be getting paid on assets under management on the back end. But I mean, that's just kind of the law of large numbers. There's people who've been able to make it work, but it's certainly not for someone who's just starting out, I don't think.
Can you, we're going to quick segue here, but it's within the topic. And I'd like you to answer this. I have my answers written down, and so it's not really fair, but we're not going to compare them. I just want to know, how would you answer the question of why we share stories and examples in marketing content?
Because it allows people to see themselves in the story, right? It is what makes them feel connected to the message of, yeah, I'm going through that as well. I'm not alone. You?
Fascinating that you said that. I have my sheet here. First line here is, it allows people to attach themselves and relate.
That's it. Relatability.
Number 2, the answer to that question that I had written down was, even the most specific situations, while niche, showcase your depth and breadth of your expertise and services. So one thing I love about sharing examples and stories is, not only does it allow people to attach to you on the human level, it allows them to attach themselves to the story and say, wow, that sounds like me. That's a situation I'm familiar with. It allows them to see that, wow, Nick has the knowledge, the depth, the breadth of, and the capabilities to handle various situations. And he's not just a surface level advisor. He's deep in the weeds on this, that, the other thing.
I also think there's also an element too, which I think is critically important, is that sometimes whenever someone is going through that pain point and they're really struggling with whatever it is, they don't necessarily see themselves out of it. And I think kind of how we create the stories of presenting a family, presenting their pain point or their situation. And then we always end the message with, hopefully, some glimmer of hope that there is an answer on the other side of a casual conversation with us that's not judgmental, but we can take them from where they are to where they want to go and offer them a path forward. Sometimes when you're in the pain, you don't necessarily see the path forward. You're just so fixated on the point that it feels like your arm just got cut off, right? So I think just showing someone that there's hope, there's a path forward. It doesn't have to be painful. It's casual, but there is a real pain for most Americans of getting financially naked with someone that they don't know real well. It's just the reality of it. But I think knowing that other people have done it, other people have come out the other side better for it, slight nudge to encourage them to raise their hand, say, hey, I have a question. Can you help?
Agreed. Hey, this one's a little heavier, but one that I think about often, and I'd like to know, we're going to get into your feelings a little bit here, because I'm a big self-reflector, right? I think it keeps me grounded, and it's a me thing. I'm not pushing that on anyone else, but I am going to ask you, as the co-host of this show, do you ever sit back in those quiet moments, quiet periods, and reflect, and to have moments of feeling grateful? Do you have moments of feeling fearful? Do you ever, sit there and think, how lucky am I? What if this all disappeared? Do you ever have those moments?
Yeah, I think I'm naturally very introspective as well. And actually, we take the entire month really of December to be introspective and think about our process and what we do. But yeah, I'm very, very lucky. I'm very blessed. I was a licensed banker for 10 years. I didn't really have a path forward with the bank that I was at of becoming a financial advisor. Had the opportunity to work with three amazing financial advisors as kind of support staff to them. Lucky enough to be, talk about just like divine intervention of everything, falling in the right place at the right time. I was at a bank that acquired a bank. And during that acquisition, the financial advisors that were in that financial institution all got pushed out. And so there was 196 branches in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia that didn't have a financial advisor. I was the guinea pig. I was the first person that they hired for that entire region. And I was there for about 18 months, basically like a traveling wholesaler going door to door, town to town, meeting with people. So I never experienced the struggle that so many people did in growing a business. My first year in production, the revenue was over 400,000. So I was very blessed with that. I never had that period that so many people go through where it's just a real grind to create a self-sustaining business. So, I've had just deal after deal after deal of amazing moments in my life. One of which is when we adopted our first child. The expenses were coming in for an international adoption faster than we could ever possibly fathom them. And I remember that I got some random bonus by the bank that was within $1 of what we needed to pay this adoption bill that we were like, oh my goodness, that's a huge bill. How are we going to pay that? Random bonus within $1. Divine intervention. I can completely feel like I have had this level of, I don't say protection over me, but definitely feel very blessed and humbled about the entire experience over the past
certainly
40 years.
When you hear something like that, it's certainly hard to argue against a higher power when a situation like that happens, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not fearful. Like when the market drops 40 or 50%, it'll happen again. It won't be fun because those are always tough conversations that you have with people. We've done as much, I think, as possible on the front end as you can do to talk about it and about our process and why we've set money aside in certain buckets to prepare for that and to not sell equities into weakness. But it all gets thrown out the window as soon as the market goes down more than 25%. But, I'm not fearful of that. I don't live in fear.
Well, I'm going to try to extrapolate a little bit more out of you on this one. You used the word a couple of times. I've got it highlighted here. Question is for you specifically. Do you consider yourself lucky? You used the word. There are definitely some situations in which, you could argue that you were in a better position to succeed. If you had to build the thing without, you said, I never had to be in a position to build this thing from the complete bottom. If you had to, could you?
Yeah, absolutely. When I became a financial advisor, technically I did grow it from the bottom. So, I came into a place where I didn't know a single person. I knew my wife's aunt and her 5 children, not a single client. There wasn't a single investment client in the bank within North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. There was no pipeline. There was no legacy clients. There were no house accounts. So it was literally doing branch training, right, to help people identify who I could help. So yeah, could I do it? Absolutely. It's a lot easier to do it in a bank because you have access to a whole lot of information. That's kind of why did whoever rob the bank? Well, because that's where the money was at. Well, at the time, that was really easy to start from zero. But if I had to do it today, sold Know My Plan, started all over with brand new clients, I would do exactly what we're doing today from ground zero.
That's the question I have for you. If this whole thing, God forbid, but the whole thing started at zero, and I don't want you to hold back because you're being humble. I just want a real answer because that's what we're doing here. How fast, not fast, but how confident are you could get the thing back to at least half of what it is and in what order?
100% confident because I would do whatever it would take to survive. Would I do all the social stuff the way that I'm doing today? 100%. But I would also be shaking hands and kissing babies and introducing myself to a whole lot more people than I do today because
You have to.
I'm incredibly introverted and I don't need to do that today. And I'm not going to openly go up to a stranger and tell them what I do. But if it was a matter of survival, of feeding my family, I would 100% do that and could grow it faster than what we're doing today. I'm just in a position where I don't have to. I don't shy away. I don't shy away from telling people like what I do and how I help people, but I'm not going to, advertise that in my own natural networks. There's probably very few people within my neighborhood who know what I do. Like we've talked
Here's
about,
the fun part.
one that randomly knew about it that I didn't know, but
Here's the fun part of this conversation. And this is for the advisors listening to this, watching this on YouTube, however you're consuming it. We just played that game of saying you went to zero, which means you'd have to do all the scratching and clawing just to get yourself to be able to pay the bills before you would even start to think about the other things, right? The stuff that you're doing today where it's the content marketing, right? Because you'd have to scratch and claw just to keep the roof over the head. Now, for advisors listening, here's the fun part. Most of you have the roof over your head and all that. You've got enough of the business built that it's sustainable and doing its thing, and you could run it in perpetuity forever if you wanted it to continue on the level it's at. What I loved about what you said was I would do all the things necessary to get to that point where we're sustainable, and then I would just do the same thing that I'm doing today. So what I want to ask you, Nick, is how possible is it for advisors listening who've gotten themselves a stable business that want to grow to grow?
I think it's super easy. It's all on the other side of hard work, right? You gotta walk through the door and you gotta do the work. But if you do the work and you're following the advice of someone who's great at this, like you, Corey, the results are inevitable.
Me aside, though, not a Corey commercial, but just for you looking out at the landscape, there's hundreds of thousands of advisors. There's thousands of advisors who meet the criteria that we're talking about. They've got a sustainable business. They've got a personality. They've got the time. They're independent. They can do these things. They have the compliance flexibility. They've got the means to hire the right people to do it. How possible is it?
It's inevitable. But the problem is, of all the people that you mentioned, there's less than 1% of those people who are actually doing it.
Why?
Because it's work. Because it's work. And people don't want to do the work. They want to play office. But if you want to grow and you don't want to do mergers and acquisitions, or you don't want to sell your business and get a paycheck, this is the easiest way to do it. And what I like about it, I got 3 young kids. This is the easiest way to do it from a work-life balance situation that I could possibly fathom. 90% plus of our meetings are virtual, which means I'm incredibly efficient with my time, but most people aren't willing to do the work. You look at all of the people who possibly fit that criteria, who could start creating on social, start sending out a newsletter that's not market commentary, and build on it, get better and better and better. Nobody's doing it as a percentage. I think someone within LPL told me that of all the LPL advisors, which I think, Rita might hate for me to say this. I don't know. Might have to edit this out. But of all the places where you could possibly work, I think with a broker dealer, LPL is the most friendliest for marketing. Less than 1% of LPL advisors are organically posting on social.
Do you know that, or is that a guess?
That's what I was told by LPL marketing.
That's insane.
So the number one reason why you would want to affiliate with LPL, in my mind, the differentiator between LPL and Raymond James and Ameriprise and all the other places that look and feel like it, is the ability to market the way that you want to market. Like, it's the number one differentiator. And 1 out of 100 are taking advantage of it. Like anything, it's the 1%. The 1% are the ones who are going to reap the benefits of what's to come over the next 10, 20 years. I'm an abundance guy. I want more of my friends, more of my colleagues who are really good at financial planning to jump on board, because I think we have a great opportunity to help the masses. And if not us, who? The good financial planners owe it to the world to try to help more people. Because if we don't, who? It's not good. It's not good out there.
Enough said on that. I think that was a good conclusion to that point.
Can I share 2 things on social that I saw this week that I really liked?
Please.
2 advisors. So I made a special note of this. Justin Holtz, that handsome devil, he posted a question that somebody asked him. And it was, "Hey, Justin, I was wondering if it makes sense for us to run the numbers with you. We're about 10 years out and thinking about what could be next." And then he created this beautiful handwritten process that he took the family through. It's amazing. Like, it's literally the process that he walked a family through. It is so aesthetically pleasing. And it is so, I don't want to say it's easy to do, but this is something that any financial advisor could do. And it makes a difference. How many people on LinkedIn are within 10 years of retirement or would like to be financially independent within 10 years? A lot.
Or know someone who might be.
Or know someone who might be. And then not only does he just give an answer, which he doesn't, more importantly than the answer, he talks about the process to get the answer. And he does it in a way that grabs attention and it's captivating. I mean, I think that's a great, if you don't know where to start, I always think it's best to start with the questions that clients ask you in their own words and tell the world how you answer said question. Second one, Joe Marshall, our friend from Santa Barbara, slumming it out there in terrible Santa Barbara, California. I love this, the hidden cost of traditional retirement. You put off everything until 65, delay, delay, delay. Travel, hobbies, experiences, enjoyable work. There's a different way. Becoming work optional means flexibility, the flexibility to quit a job you hate, take the foot off the gas, pursue projects based on passion, not income, take a year off and travel or volunteer or start your own business. I mean, once again, how many people in his network of tech employees who are grinding and working 80-hour weeks, how many people relate with that? Super relatable. There's a lot of people thinking about, why do I have to push off all of the things that are important to me until 65 before I retire? I think these are just two amazing examples. If you don't know where to start on creating content, like, those are two awesome dudes to be following, to see what they're doing on social.
I think there's a lot of, I appreciate the examples. I know both those gentlemen well, and I encourage them, and I enjoy watching their journey to the top as well. I think there's a lot of, I don't think it's malicious by any means. I do not think it's malicious. I think there's a lot of misplaced influence on social that advisors get hooked with or hooked by. And that is seeing others do things that generate what we talked a lot about on episode 17, I believe, which is metrics. Well, Tim Smith gets hundreds of likes and 62 comments on every one of his posts. He has 22,000 followers. He has 6.7 thousand YouTube views per video. He has 96,000 people following his YouTube channel. All right. Well, we don't know what Tim Smith's revenue looks like. We don't know what those metrics really even mean. And frankly, like, you're not Tim Smith.
Right. And the things that excited advisors are not the same things that excite end users. And if the goal was simply to extract the most likes, shares, and comments, I would create different content. But the goal for me is to get people to raise their hands and become a client, or to have a conversation about if my plan is a good fit.
Yeah, like, I don't, that's the one thing I don't get.
If the goal was to be an influencer, I'd do it different.
100%. It would be all.
But that goes back to, what's the goal? What's the goal of being on social?
That's what people have to figure out for themselves. I think that's, I don't know. Ed Sheeran said it in his documentary on, I think it was on Disney, but he said it, and it was fantastic. And it was like, people misuse, I see social in a different way. Social media for me is to share what it is I'm doing to further my brand and my music and get my name to people that might not otherwise see me, to become fans of what it is I'm doing. And I think conversely, what the trap that people have fallen into is that they use social to fulfill themselves inside, to make themselves feel better, that they have this vanity life happening in the background.
Yeah, I'm okay with giving people a little glimpse into my personal life, the things that I
course.
enjoy, my weird quirkiness around junior college basketball and this fitness journey and, some little things like that. There's also things that are off limit that we don't share on social, like about our kids and things like that. But for me, this is trying to get people more comfortable with reaching out to know my plan, because one, I think I've been put on this earth to help people pursue their goals. I mean, and it's the easiest way to reach the most people, but it also makes clients feel really confident in who they're working with and in their own plan. Therefore, it gives them more confidence to refer the people that they're closest to, the people that mean the most to them, to say, hey, you should reach out to Nick. We've had a great experience with them. You should see if Know My Plan is right for you.
This has been a great conversation. I want to make sure we get some time in here to talk about some of our more casual things. But let me just close on this, on the business stuff. If you have other things you want to ask, please, by all means, the floor is yours. But as far as I go, like, I appreciate the candor. None of this is ever intended to be a commercial. Like, I know some of this stuff sounds like it's a commercial to call Corey or to, I'm almost at capacity anyways here. So if 10 people called me tomorrow, 9.5 of them are getting turned away anyhow. So for me, it's just, I appreciate the candid conversation about what it is we're doing, what it is you're doing works, how it works, why it works, the real stories behind it. So I appreciate that.
And I think if you're a financial advisor that's out there listening to this and you're trying to figure out where to start, how to grow, like, I literally would start Good Till Cancelled, episode 1, work your way through it, take notes. This is as close as an answer key as you're ever going to get, and it's free. And I promise you it's better than any paid consultancy that's out there. Listen to these first 20 episodes first before you ever think about engaging with someone. And you know what? Share it with a friend. That helps us too.
You know what? That's really a smart point. Like, we're going into, I've heard a lot from advisors, RIAs, smaller firms that are looking to hire talent. They're specifically looking to hire talent out of school because it's a little cheaper, right? It's a little bit more cost effective, but they're also looking to, bring on people. They got to find the right people, interns. Dude, for the first week, tell your new associate, your new client, your new marketing person, start this podcast at 0, at 1, listen all the way through, take notes. And you know what? On Friday, I want you to share with me, some takeaways. I want some high level things, what you learned, what we could do, what you're thinking, where your head's at. I mean, that would be shit. That's probably a $10,000, university semester course there.
This is better than any course that I probably took in college. And I would just think about everything that we're talking about through the lens of the firm where you're at, or your own business, with a SWOT analysis, right? Strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats. What are we doing that we could do differently? What are we doing that could be improved? What should we stop doing? What should we start doing? I think there's a lot that can be gleaned from the conversations, that we're having back and forth that people can immediately apply in real life. Corey, before we get out of here, because I know we're coming up on a time cap here, I wanted, if you would appease me, to do a lightning round real quick. I want to ask you 3 questions just to let people get a little insight.
Oh, no. We froze for a second.
You. I think I could probably guess 2 of the 3. Okay. Sorry. Lightning round, 3 questions to you. Let the audience get to know you. You have to go back to work for a company. You can choose any company in America to work for, but it has to be a publicly traded company. Who do you go work for?
Oh, geez, dude. I mean, my quick answer is I'm going to just drop like a Nike on you because I want to go be involved in something that I perceive to be fun. But there's
that was my answer that I had as well.
All right. I'm not going to go any deeper. It's a quick lightning round. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. Question number 2. You can only use one social media platform for the remainder of your career. I will give you 2 answers. You can do one for business, one for personal, and it might be the same. So one social media platform for the remainder of your lifetime.
Business is YouTube. Personal is Instagram.
Agreed. You can only watch one pro sports league for the remainder of your life. What do you choose?
The NBA.
Okay. That was the one I wasn't sure about. I didn't know if you would go NFL or not.
The NBA is too close to future culture that it can't be ignored. They're the leaders of what's coming and what's next and what trickles down into this world. And they always have been.
And I think the NFL has some real longevity risks of, someone legitimately dying on the field.
And the NFL, the owners, they've got the thumbtack on the players. The NBA, the players are the ones who drive this whole thing.
Bonus round question. Is there any chance where the inside the NBA cast, specifically Ernie, Chuck, Shaq, Kenny, shows up on a different platform, whether it be Amazon, NBC, after the 25 season?
Oh, dude, I bet they're talking about it now. And I think with the money they have, they could launch their own thing, and just do live on, honestly, they could go live on YouTube after the game and bring in their own sponsors.
If I am Netflix, who didn't get an NBA package,
100 Netflix live. Yep.
I write those guys a blank check. Be like, I don't care what it is. What's your number? What's your number? We're gonna go live at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 nights a week, 5 nights a week, whatever. It would be enormous.
Here's the schedule, guys. No. We're gonna make this easy for you. You guys had this schedule at TNT. What was the one thing on the schedule you hated the most? Okay, eliminate that day. So we're gonna go from 4 days to 3. You were all based in Atlanta. You help design the studio. Design it however you want. It's going to be in Atlanta. You guys do your thing. Oh, and you know what that does? That gets Netflix into live sports without getting Netflix into live sports.
If I'm a Netflix, if I'm an Apple TV who didn't get part of that package, I'm going so hard at inside the NBA. It's literally blank check season.
Oh, we're building the studio right now. It's 2024, we're a year and a half out, and we're already starting.
It's going to be the best studio ever.
You can run your own commercials.
Yeah. Choose your sponsors. You don't like a sponsor?
No. Netflix can just choose. Netflix is in charge. They'll run their own ads.
Yeah.
Coming up next month on Netflix.
Yeah. One last thing before we go. Landed the Bad. I loved it. You liked the first half. You were a little bearish on the second half.
It's a half and halfer for me. The first half had the grittiness and the darkness that I love in a good movie. The
got a little fluffy in the second half.
Too predictable. I knew, the tunnel's going to blow up. And hang on, you're hard out here at the hour.
I am, yeah. Okay. But that's okay.
It's not okay. I got to squeeze this one in. I'll save the rest for the future. Did you see the WNBA All-Star structure?
I did not.
One of the most brilliant things that we could do, period. And I don't know how to mimic it because they had the WNBA All-Stars versus the WNBA USA team. Mm. And when I tell you it was competitive as all hell, dude, talk about pitting your friends against your friends. The USA didn't want to lose to the All-Stars. And the All-Stars fuck you guys.
Right.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about that.
Somehow Caitlin Clark's not on the Olympic team.
Different situation, but Caitlin Clark's on the other team because she didn't get picked, right? So now she's got the grind.
Oh, she got that. She's all grit.
We've got to figure that one out.
I think she's just like me on the whole. It's like the doubt. You're not on the Olympic team. Anyhow, amazing episode.
Coming up on the next episode here. Do we talk about Mike Trout in a decade? The worst baseball franchises. And going to the card store during a spousal fight.
Ooh. Yeah. You have to set some limits on that. Cash only, no credit cards. Because you get into a situation there, you get into a bad fight, you're starting to do cash advances and stuff like that. So yeah, always dicey. In next episode, let's talk about Simone Biles too, who I think captivated America with her performance.
All right, will do. Folks, thanks for listening. Cheers.
See you, brother.